The Gift. The Wing Sound logo is from Libana's album A Circle is Cast. This is the Women's International News Gathering Service.
We are WLKLP 93.9 FM, the Work FM, licensed to Midlothian and serving Chesapeake, Richmond, Goochland, and Hanover.
And this is our birthday month. August is our birthday month, so feel free to send us a little love in the form of a contribution via PayPal. You go to our website, look at the donate button, or go to Facebook and look at the contact us button, which really is disguised. It's really a donate button disguised as contact us. But in any case, feel no shame. Join us in our project to help this, a great experiment, the United States of America, how to manage a bunch of humans so they don't kill each other or become too corrupt to function. And, you know, we're having a little rough spot in the road, so we could sure use your help. Check money order, cars, trucks, boats, anything you want to send our way, we will turn it into programming like Susanna and her friends coming on to say how to find our fit. Take it away.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Susanna Calvert. This is Finding Our Fit. Purpose of Finding Our Fit is to find our place in our crazy and beautiful world. And in so doing, we will enrich our world and create a brighter future for everyone and everything, especially Earth. I'm also the founder and executive director of the Foundation for Family and Community Healing, whose mission is to also help everyone find our fit through relationship skill education. Check us out after the show at healingedu.org. We do this program to help us make sense of our crazy and beautiful world so that we can choose for it to feel more beautiful than crazy. Many of us tend to focus on the crazy part of our life, forgetting the flip side has many opportunities to find and create opportunity, wisdom, and healing. In Finding Our Fit, we focus on the flip side of those challenges, where there's that beauty, where we can learn and grow, become wiser and more resilient by adopting a healthier relationship with everybody and everything. It's important to choose both the yin and the yang so that we can create balance and conditions for healing. It's a practice we choose every day. Today's topic is pretty purely beautiful and such a transcendent topic. It's about fatherhood, parenthood, coupledom. These are all such beautiful roles, and what has become possible through such relationships and roles is immeasurable. I think about my own dad and what he created for me, my life for sure, but also a worldview that has imprinted on me in so many unknowable and magnificent ways. My late husband, Christopher, who many of you regular listeners know was a soulmate to me and who made me feel like I could do anything and accomplish anything. At the time, when he first said it, I didn't believe him, but 10 years later, and ironically after losing him to cancer, I learned that I believe that he is right. Even the father of my 2 adult sons, though we are long divorced, those beautiful young men who are the light of my life are only possible because of him. And now they're both starting their own families, including my younger son, who gave me a grandson. He's now my favorite. And the cycle continues. The same is true, of course, for moms, wives, and female partners. And we should celebrate all parents and partners regardless of their gender or gender identity. Love is love, no matter whom it comes from. And we can never get enough of that in this world, especially now. And today, we're going to focus on the men and their unique perspectives, challenges, and opportunities. And so I'm so excited about our topic today, men and relationships, encouraging husbands and dads, with Rebecca Blackwell, wonderful expert who is a marriage and relationship coach, relationship program director with the Fatherhood Foundation. She's going to help us figure all this out and send everybody home with some great insight and advice. Welcome to Finding Our Fit, Rebecca. Thank you for coming.
Thanks so much for having me, Susanna. It's a pleasure to be here, and it's interesting to talk about men. 2 women here talking about men, but the thing that I really find interesting too is that as we talk about this and as we get into this a little bit more, our perspective of men and husbands and dads and sons, all that kind of stuff is important. So how do we view them? How do they view us? And what does it mean to be in relationship? So really excited to kind of dive into this topic. And as part of the Fatherhood Foundation, I do business under Relationship Foundation. So we're a division of Fatherhood Foundation, but at the same time, when I do bridal shows or things like that, we kind of don't start with the fatherhood piece in that instance, but we do recognize that it takes two. That's one of my big topics. It takes two to have a strong, healthy relationship, whether that's a romantic relationship or otherwise. And so being able to kind of talk about it from both sides of the coin is really exciting. So. And I liked what you said about your dad too. I think that's one of the things that I remember about my father as well. That he passed away a few years ago, but one of the things that he said to me, and when I had my first child, was it was the two of you before it was the three of you, and just that really resonated with me. And I think again, having a strong role model in my life, to have that spoken to me as a daughter, made a big difference. And I know, how we communicate with each other is a big deal all the way around.
Well, I'm so glad that you're here and excited for the topic, and I just think it's a wonderful, not only a topic for a radio show or a conversation or a discussion, but especially the work you all do in the Fatherhood Foundation / Relationship Foundation is so beautiful and so important. It's so full of love and a gift to the world. And I want to make sure that we have some time during the show for you to tell everybody about it. But but before we get into all of that, do you want to tell listeners anything else about yourself or your organization?
Yeah, so I'm married, have been married. We will celebrate 26 this year. So we had that quarter of a century last year.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It doesn't happen as easy as people think it does. But we do have three amazing children. We have a son who's 24, a daughter who's 22, and another daughter who's 19. Technically empty nesters, they're kind of coming and going. And my husband and I came from different backgrounds. My father was an artist. His dad was a colonel in the Army. So, some very different upbringings. But, as I mentioned, with my dad telling me that when we started our family, and my parents celebrated almost 58 years together before he passed away.
Wow.
So I come from, some strong background. And again, I like to share that with people because of what we see in the world today. We see so much brokenness and so much hurt that, it is nice to be able to shine a light and talk about the positives, not to make anybody feel bad, but just to help, give people hope and resources and things like that. And, I've done marriage ministry. I've been coaching for a number of years and have really been in the marriage education field on and off for almost 20 years. I really got started after my husband and I were married and started our family. And, so it's kind of what makes me tick. I love to share with people, what it is that I've learned, what my husband and I have been through in marriage, and just, help people recognize that it's not a bed of roses. There's ups and downs. And no matter where you are in relationship, whether you're dating, thinking about getting married, empty nesting, hit a bump in the road, kind of whatever is going on, that's just one of those things that goes back to what you all do too at the Family for Community Healing, Foundation for Community Healing. It's that purpose of, what can we do to make ourselves stronger and better that will then, make who we're around feel better and enjoy things. So, yeah, so that's a little bit about me, makes me tick. As far as the foundation goes too, I actually just started on staff last year. During the pandemic, I had my own coaching business and have been involved with the organization on and off for almost the 20 years prior to Relationship Foundation as well. But, just this year, changing the name to Fatherhood Foundation of Virginia, we really are really focused on how can we help men that want to know, right? How can we help men in the roles that they play? And the roles that they lead through life, because all of us have a lot of pressure on us, whether we're male or female, and it doesn't really matter what's going on. It's how do we see that role moving forward? And so at the Fatherhood Foundation, we have programs specific for dads and husbands, and then the Relationship Foundation picks up on the other side to help the couples with date nights and programming for coaching and stuff like that too. So.
Yeah, and I want to be clear that it's not necessarily just for married couples, right? It's really
Correct.
people in I guess, any romantic relationship or committed relationship, though it's sort of just a shorthand to say marriage or husbands and wives, and it could really just apply to everyone who's just trying to make an intimate relationship work, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And even the fatherhood programs that we offer, some of the dads are single, or they don't have a relationship with their kids and they're trying to rebuild that, or they don't have a relationship with the mother of their children. So how do they rebuild that? And, how do we work together to make that happen? So, yeah. So, dating, married, engaged, just living together, trying to make sense of things. Yes, that's what we do. It's all about healthy relationships.
And it's really hard. Let's just be clear. Like somebody throws out a number of, multiple decades of marriage, and that's a huge accomplishment. I mean, it's hard to be married or hard to be in a long-term relationship and live together. And especially when there's the stress of children and jobs and schedules and health issues and different expectations and backgrounds. It just seems like there's so many potential pitfalls and places to trip you up that it's a wonder that anybody stays together.
Right.
So
yeah, two separate people trying to, do life together, and, we are who we are, and we have to recognize those differences and, all that kind of stuff too. And
so we are WRWK 93.9 FM. I'm Susanna Calvert here on Finding Our Fit. And today we're talking about men and relationships, encouraging husbands and dads. And with me to discuss this, we have Rebecca Blackwell, marriage and relationship coach and relationship program director with the Fatherhood Foundation. I know this is a great topic, and I bet a lot of you listeners have thoughts and questions and feelings about the topic, and we'd love to hear from you. So give us a ring at 804-464-1089. Or if you're on Facebook Live, then pop something in the chat. So Rebecca, tell us about what it is that we're talking about here. We've already mentioned that it's husbands and dads, but it can really be anybody in a long-term relationship that's trying to make it work. But why do you focus on the men? And what do you want to tell us about that specifically?
Yeah, I think, there's a lot of organizations out there that help moms. There's a lot of organizations out there that help families, but, there's very few that target the male role model. Right. And so there's a lot of pressure on men to succeed, both financially and the workforce. I mean, a lot of times men, when they first meet each other, what do? That's their first thing. You're identified by what you do. So it's a very different kind of situation there. But also, men have gotten a bad rap. I think that, really, as women have become stronger and more prominent in the workforce and things like that, the men have unfortunately been pushed to the side. And, that's not fair. I know life's not fair. I don't like to say that, but, it's kind of taken a swing. There's nothing wrong with being a strong man and a strong woman and being able to make that work together. So I really think that, instead of swinging the pendulum all the way to the other side where, I am woman, hear me roar, let's kind of come back to a little bit more of a middle ground, and recognizing that you're a team and you're in this together. And, that's where it all comes from. So how do we help these men that maybe have been pushed aside, whether on purpose or inadvertently, help them get back to where they want to be. Where do they want to be too? That's another point, where I talk a lot about love and respect. And that's another piece of it where stereotypically men need respect and women need love. Of course we both need both of these things, but in a sense, men will be able to show more love if they feel respected. Women will be able to respect more when they feel loved and things like that. So really, I think the main thing is trying to, help them realize that they haven't done anything wrong as far as just being a man. It's let's work together and find out how we can bring them, to an even playing field, if that's what they want.
So it's so interesting. I was thinking about the stereotypes too as you were talking, and about men being pushed aside either intentionally or unintentionally. And I think it's such a double-edged sword because, in general, like we are not taught about relationships in our society, whether you're male or female. And we learn, at least my perception is we learn through role models, whether they be positive or negative.
Right.
And then relationships are viewed as women's work. So it seems like men are discouraged from, or they're not encouraged to participate in that. And then so between the two, I mean, we just really have hamstringed all of us to be equipped to really create healthy, loving relationships and stable family units.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that. It's, you're right. I mean, trying to, figure out what that balance is and how do we get back to it, and really what are those roles? What are the expectations and where did you learn it? That's huge, right? And there's so many, I mean, so Richmond in particular, but, the United States as a whole, fatherlessness is a huge epidemic. And that's another big part of it. Where are these men learning to be men? Where are these men learning to be husbands, dads, boyfriends, good friends even? Where are they learning that? And so many aren't. And they just the role models aren't out there. And even when I talk to couples and coaching and stuff, I'm like, where did you learn how to be married? Did you have parents that had a good relationship? Did they argue? Did they not? So again, it does come back to what are we learning? How are we learning it? And where are we learning it from?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you're also even including friendship relationships as well.
Yeah.
And how are they similar or different? How is it similar or different to be in a platonic relationship, say with another male, than a romantic relationship, Rebecca? How is that different?
So are you talking about a male-female relationship or like men?
Well, I'm just talking about like how is the platonic relationship like what's different about a platonic relationship than a romantic relationship? What challenges might there be for one or the other, and opportunities?
Yeah, I think, well, kind of going along with that would be, women have a tendency to be in community together, right? Women will go out, find friends, do things together, where men will maybe not as comfortable in that type of scenario. So one of the things that Fatherhood Foundation is going to be trying and kind of launching is that idea of how do we get men to talk to men, and break down those barriers and those walls. So again, those friendships need to form, on the male side and on the female side. one of the classes that we have, the New Dad Basics, is all about men talking about what it's going to be like to have a child. And, women, we'll have a tendency to just, talk to the friends or pick up, the phone and talk to somebody who had a kid already and things like that. That's one of the first things that we're going to go to. But men, they're like, I should know this, right? I should know how this works. And, or I've got this, I don't need any help, right? Even though secretly they do. So I guess really when it comes to the friendship model, it's trying to organize that a little bit differently and help men and women both, but recognize that it's okay to talk to other guys about what's going on in their relationship to an extent, and what's going on with their parenting. Are they struggling with their son or their daughter or this new baby or something like that? So when I kind of introduced the platonic relationship, I also would say that we have to be careful about men and women as friends, because again, that can lead to a romantic relationship if we're not careful as well, because it's just the way we're wired. So I would kind of be a little cautious when it comes to that. But does that answer the question? Does that help a little bit?
Yeah, I think so. So you sort of said it when you were talking about how men talk to men, and it sounded like you were saying that that you're encouraging men to talk to each other. Is it in general, or just more about things they don't know, or may not want to admit, or is it both?
All of the above. I think just helping men open up and recognize that it's okay to share in certain circumstances. You're not going to spill everything, and it's not appropriate to spill everything. But especially in the romantic relationship, in a married relationship, it is important for that man to be able to share with his wife, his girlfriend, how he's feeling and what's going on, so that she can help him if she needs to, or be there as a sounding board, those types of things. So friendship in a romantic relationship is a lot more than friendship outside, because that transparency and honesty really needs to be a big part of it. But I think really just encouraging men to open up and talk to other guys about how they're feeling and what's going on, whether it's work related, parenting, relationally, things like that, whether, even with their family, if something's going on. Most of that will probably take place in their coupledom, but being able to find other men that can support them from that side of things is really important.
And how do you get men to open up?
Teach them. Yeah. It's because it's ingrained, and it's the way that they're wired. It's the way that they're made. I can handle this. I've got this. And a lot of women are like that too. But knowing when to say when is really important. So, understanding how they're feeling, and this goes, for everybody, but, if we're looking at men specifically, they're not going to break down and cry. They're not going to, let everything down at the same time. Because again, as women, a lot of times we don't know what to do if that happens. Right. So, but it's a matter of find your person, right? If that person is your spouse, if that person is your girlfriend or boyfriend, find that person, somebody that you can confide in. A mentor would be a really great way to start opening up and talking to people. Hey, is this something you've ever dealt with? Google is your friend too, but sometimes you're not going to find the answers that you need at that point. But I think really finding your person and somebody that you can confide in, that will have your back, when it comes to that. So a running buddy, a workout partner, just go someplace and have a beer, or have a coffee, kind of whatever, just being able to, to talk about anything and everything and feel comfortable with it.
And do most men have somebody they feel like they can go talk to, or do some just go, I can't think of anybody?
I think most say, I can't really think of anybody. I think it depends on the age too. I think a lot of men, as they get older, if they haven't kept up with friends and things like that, then it's even harder. And my goodness, the pandemic that we've gone through. I mean, things have changed tremendously, and it is a lot harder to find that person, right? To get back into the swing of things. But it could be just going to meet up and find a group that, what is it that you like to do? That's the other thing. Do you like to run? Do you want to work out? Do you like, motorcycles or boats or cars, or, find somebody that has a like interest that you do, and strike up, those conversations. If you're part of a faith community, being involved there, your work, doing something after work with a coworker, and just kind of start that conversation up.
Okay. Yeah, I used to kind of feel resentful that I was a woman and a person of color and job opportunities and blah, blah, blah. But, at this stage in my life, I'm just really grateful to be a woman. And I guess, it's sort of stereotype, but it's also some truth to it. It seems that, I can't imagine a life where I can't just talk about how I feel, and to form relationships with people. It just seems like it would just be, for me, it would be so challenging to live that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's, and it's just different, and I talk about that a lot too. Different, not wrong. Okay. We have to remember that just because somebody's different from us doesn't make them wrong. You can have different beliefs, you can have different thoughts, but we need to respect each other and try and understand, what is it, what is so hard about going out and meeting somebody, hey, you met me, you caught me, that kind of thing. So, at some point, you can do it. But you just have to step out of your comfort zone sometimes. And, and again, the way that the mental health challenges are coming, are more out in the open and things like that now too. I think it's just a matter of that those conversations just are going to continue. And, we just need to keep men talking. So that's what we're trying to do at the Fatherhood Foundation. Just really, make sure that they know that there are resources out there for them that will help give them the tools that they need to step forward in conversation, to communicate with other men, their significant others, just their kids. The tools are there. You just have to find them. And we want to be the point person. We want to be the organization that people come to find those tools. And if we can't help, we'll put them in touch with somebody who can. So that's the other thing. If it's not something that we're doing currently, we'll find somebody who is, or we'll, expand our programming at some point to be able to do more.
I want them to go to you as well. So everybody, make sure you go to the Fatherhood Foundation if you would like to avail yourself of their resources. So we're WRWK 93.9 FM. This is Finding Our Fit. I'm Susanna Calvert here with Rebecca Blackwell of the marriage, who's a marriage and relationship coach and relationship program director with the Fatherhood Foundation. And tonight we're talking about men and relationships, encouraging husbands and dads. And listeners, I know you have questions, comments, and thoughts. So give us a ring at 804-464-1089. Or if you're on Facebook, put something in the chat. We'd love to hear from you. So Rebecca, you shared some really insightful points about what this is all about and what type of relationships we're talking about and for whom. But talk more about why this matters. Why is it important for men / anyone, because this is really a people problem, not a specific to any gender. why is it important for folks to step out of their comfort zones and be more open and share when it comes to their relationships? Why does that matter?
Well, you can look around and see why it matters. We've got relationships falling apart all over the place. We have children with mental health issues and dropping out of school and behavioral issues, suicide, on the rise, drug overdoses all the time. So relationships matter. And one of the things that we really focus on is that we really want to drive down the divorce statistics, and we want to help people stay together and help fathers be engaged with their children and break those cycles. We really want to focus on the root of the problem. There's so many great organizations out there that are helping the leaves grow and look, the flowers look pretty and all that kind of stuff, but at the same time, we have to really dig down and find out what's going on. So when, the statistic used to be, 50% of marriages fail. So luckily those numbers are coming down a little bit. They're now at about 39%. So that's a good thing, but also people are putting off getting married, until, later, or if at all. A lot of people are cohabiting now. And not seeing the value in marriage. And so one of the things that we really want to help with is to, kind of to change that story, by helping people understand what it means to be in relationship and how we talk to each other, how we treat each other, and just recognize that there's so many things out there that are good about being together. We were made to be together. No man is an island, right? No, that's no gender specific there, but no person is an island. And the pandemic showed us that too, that we really do need community. We need people to be happy and healthy and really feel fulfilled in life. So there's more to life than just bringing home a paycheck and just working. There's enjoying life. We hear things all the time about that. So I think that's really the big push for us at this point. It's just really trying to, like I said, drive down the statistics, drive down the number of fatherless families. There are a lot of divorces are initiated by the woman. So why is that? What's going on that's causing that to happen? And what it's showing is that the women aren't getting what they need. The men probably aren't either, but they're not being heard either. So a lot of times the men think that, well, I'm providing for you, I'm working hard, we've got this great house and all that kind of stuff, and that's wonderful. But when was the last time they went out on a date? When was the last time they spent a weekend together without any kids? Again, it goes back to that, men are conquerors in a sense, right? Okay, I'm married, I don't have to keep dating anymore, right? Well, she still needs to feel important, and he does too. So how do we do that? And so I think, again, there, by being able to offer date night programs and remind people to put gas in the tank, right? If you got to go somewhere, you got to put gas in the tank. If you want your relationship to last, you have to invest in it. So that's a lot of what we're doing.
That's really great and well said, Rebecca. Because one thing I've noticed is, and I don't know if this is true in every country, I've only ever lived here, but we just seem like we have this fairy tale mentality, like all the hard work is done once you found your true love, and then you go live happily ever after. And I just wonder how much of that contributes to this idea that you don't have to put effort into a relationship, or you put a superficial effort in. Like when I first got married, I thought, all the hard work was about the diapers and paying the bills and laundry. But, that's the easy part because
Right.
it's obvious and you just do it. And it doesn't necessarily take a lot of skill or finesse, especially the way I wash dishes. But But the really hard work is making that relationship work, and nobody ever talks about that. Nobody tells you about that. And so you're about helping people stay together, um, helping both parties feel important and respected, and that occurs through an investment. So can you just connect the dots for us a little bit more explicitly, Rebecca, about what's that investment mean? What does it mean to invest in your relationship so that you stay together?
Yeah. First of all, let's say poo-poo to Disney, right? We love Disney movies, but yes, the princesses and the princes, they've just ruined it for everyone. So yes, it's wonderful to be married and to be, in relationship and all that kind of stuff. But yes, when it comes to putting in the work, I tell people a lot of times it's simple, may not be easy. And so those are the things to think about, right? And if you think about your relationship, your marriage as, um, you're going on a trip, and your trip hopefully will not end for many, 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 many years, right? Till death do you part is the plan, right? And really, honestly, people don't go into relationship or go into marriage thinking it'll fail or hoping it'll fail. The statistics tell us otherwise, but when you are going into a relationship, you're optimistic, you're looking forward to this and that kind of thing. So we need to remember that we need to keep that hope alive. So that's the big part of it. And we need to keep putting gas in the tank. We need to keep checking the map. We need to do the oil changes, because what happens is if the car breaks down, it's going to cost a lot more to fix it, i.e. divorce costs a lot more than coaching or counseling. But it's all about maintenance. And so what do we do when it comes to maintenance? And I think, definitely premarital coaching or counseling, any of that kind of stuff, let's talk about the things that's going to happen in life. We're going to talk about finances and sex and affection and family of origin and children and parenting. And, how many times does a premarital couple talk about what happens if they can't get pregnant? Because stress is going to be huge if that's an issue, right? Or they lose a child. I mean, these stressors are real life situations. A family member passes away. How are you going to handle that? So, learning tools ahead of time is super beneficial. And even if you haven't, you can always pick it up. That's the best part. These are things that you can learn and you can put into practice immediately. How do I talk to somebody? How do I paraphrase what they're saying? They've hurt my feelings, but instead of putting my wall up, I'm going to find out why they said what they said. So learning how to communicate with somebody is huge. And then, just really being able to listen well, handle problems effectively, and you have to communicate about the problem before you solve it, because sometimes you're solving the wrong problem. And, so being able to learn how to do that is important. When it comes to finances, right? Who's going to handle the finances? And, are you going to keep separate accounts? Who's better with the checkbook than the other? What kind of debt are you all sharing? Have you talked about that? Where do we want to live? So there's so many things to talk about, and, just to have those conversations on a regular basis and knowing how to do it and doing it often, even if it feels uncomfortable, right? The more we practice something, the more natural it becomes.
Those are some really great examples, Rebecca. So connect the dots for me also about how it matters, like why it matters how we talk to each other and treat each other. Like, what's that got to do with people staying together? And I mean, I think it's sort of obvious, but I'd really like to just hear you spell it out, because it may not be a direct connection for everybody listening.
Okay. Yeah. I was like, well, what do you mean by that? That's interesting. Yeah. So
What happens if people don't do that?
Okay, so if they're not doing that, it just chips away at your self-esteem, right? It chips away at the relationship, and it starts driving a wedge between you, and that wedge just gets wider and wider and wider. One of the things in that love and respect situation is it's called a crazy cycle. Somebody has to jump off, and until you recognize, that's another thing, right? There's danger signs in communication and in relationships. I'm not talking about physical violence or emotional violence, anything like that, but danger signs about how we're talking to each other. Sometimes a subtle put down, over and over and over again, is really going to cause your partner to start shutting down, and because they don't know how to respond back to you. They're not comfortable sharing, hey, that hurt my feelings. I remember when my husband and I had been married for probably 10 or 15 years or so. I had a small business at home. I sold Pampered Chef, and the kids were little, and what I ended up doing was working late at night, and he went on to bed. Well, if he had never told me that he wanted me to go to bed with him at the same time, I probably would have kept on working, right? So by him being able to share with me, hey, I need you, or I want you, I changed my behaviors, right? And I was like, well, wait a minute, of course, you're important to me. And so that brings up a good point too, I would say, is, are we prioritizing our partner? Do they feel important? Because there's going to be times where one of you is down and the other one's up, like, oh, I had a great day. This is awesome. This is awesome. And man, I had the worst day ever. Right. So how do we balance that out? You don't necessarily have to pull them up to your level, but, be empathetic to what it is that they're feeling and what's going on there too. So, yeah, I think, like you were saying, it makes sense to some, but maybe not the others. But watch out for those danger signs. Don't keep one-upping each other. Don't say the always and never. Those are my two big ones. You always, or you never, because what that's going to do to your partner is they're going to be like, wait a minute, I remember when I didn't do this, or I did this, so it's always going to put them on the defensive. So we have to remember that there's filters out there that we're speaking through and listening through. But so don't try and one up each other. Watch out for mind reading. Just because you're thinking something doesn't mean that they're interpreting it the same way. So make sure that you're asking, do you understand what I'm trying to tell you? No. Okay. Well, let's talk about this a little bit more, because I really need you to understand. And that's where a lot of the breakdown happens. You're like, he's just not listening, or she's just not listening. It's not that. They're just not understanding. So yeah, maybe they aren't listening. That's another danger sign, withdrawing and avoiding the conversations. But, you do, if you're in it to win it, then you're going to be there to really listen to understand, because you care about this person and you want to do life with them, and you want it to be enjoyable and fulfilling. And, we're not meant to trudge through life together. We're meant to enjoy life together.
Yeah, those are great suggestions, Rebecca. I think like an analogy that came to mind was the workplace. And if you were in a workplace where people weren't communicating, and there was just like nobody knows what's going on, and they're starting to have resentment building. It's not a place that you're going to want to work, and things are not going to work very well. And you're going to have to work harder to get things done and to meet your goals. And then if it's a toxic workplace, then people start to leave, and actually your health and well-being suffers in general as well. So a family is just like an organization, in the same way that if there isn't smooth relationships and good communication, then it's just going to make everything harder for everybody, and they're going to want to leave, and they're going to get sick and unhappy in general.
Yeah. And that's what I was talking about with simple, it's simple. We just have to remember to do it.
Yeah. So we're WRWK 93.9 FM. This is Finding Our Fit. I'm Susanna Calvert here with Rebecca Blackwell, marriage and relationship coach, relationship program director with the Fatherhood Foundation, talking about men and relationships, encouraging husbands and dads. And we would love to hear from you listeners. And I know you want to be heard as well. So give us a ring at 804-464-1089 or pop something in the chat. We'd love to have your questions. I know you all have questions. I know I have questions. And thank you, Rebecca, for really shedding light on this really important topic. It's there's so much data on this idea of the importance of relationships in our ability to have a good life. And this is one of the reasons, if not the reason, that the Foundation for Family and Community Healing also focuses on relationships with online learning modules. And of course, I just love the Fatherhood Foundation because they've got much more hands-on in the community, working with folks directly. That extra attention is so important, and they do it so beautifully. And it makes all the difference to our quality of life, our health and well-being, and ability to thrive. And so we want everybody in the community to thrive. And you've started to give us some great advice, Rebecca. And in the last 14 minutes or so that we have left, I'd like for you to see if there's any other advice you can give to listeners as to what they can go do immediately and start make a difference in their life. You've already given such great advice already. I'm going to summarize it a little bit, and feel free to fill in anything I left out. But you talked about the importance of opening up, especially for men, but really for anybody, and talk about your feelings, find a confidant or a friend or a mentor, and step out of your comfort zone and look for tools that can help you to do that. Also, to keep your hope up and invest in your relationships, and use the analogy of planning a trip. But so I translated that into plan your trip and your maintenance and care of your relationship, fuel it, give it the nourishment and attention it needs, and attend to it on a regular basis so it doesn't break down, because the breakdown's much more difficult and painful than the maintenance. Coaching and counseling to discuss important issues in advance and to gain some tools. And of course, we're all about tool building at the foundation. So go to healingedu.org to get your skills and tools. And keep these conversations open as you discuss how to manage your lives and your major decisions. Learn and practice, prioritize each other. Don't keep one-upping each other. Don't use the words always or never. So these black and white absolutes, also called polarity thinking or black and white thinking, and avoid mind reading. That's one of my favorites. Like not only assuming that somebody understands, but just assuming something about them, assuming they think this or feel this or need or want this. And then if they say that's not how they think or feel, then believe them.
Yes, exactly. That's big, and sometimes when things have been going bad for a long time, that's really hard to put behind you, but it's really important to do it. Focus on the positives and really think positively of your mate. Because, and that helps you as a person too. Remember that the couple relationship is only as healthy as each person in it. So if one is unhealthy, whether it's mentally, physically, emotionally, any of these factors can take a toll on the relationship. And so a lot of times when I work through problem solving with couples, it could be the problem, that the man is dealing with. And a lot of times he'll try and take it on himself. And he's like, I can fix this. I can do this. Right. But, wouldn't it be easier if she's here to help you a little bit too, or have you thought about, because our brains work differently. And, so being able to problem solve together makes that relationship stronger. Whether it's, a stressor on one person, it's affecting the relationship. So I think that's really important too.
And that also includes making decisions together in the process, right?
Right. Yes.
Yeah, I also feel like something that gets short shrift is growth mindset. I just feel that that a committed couple where they embrace a growth mindset, they're just more likely to be able to figure out their problems as opposed to thinking that they can't learn and grow.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about that, Rebecca?
Yeah, I love that too. One of the exercises that I have couples do is, dating activities, right? What do you want to do? What do you like to do? And sometimes they're polar opposites. So they're going to have to find that compromise. But, learning something together, doing something new that neither one of you have done, that stretches your brain. It stretches your, your expectations, all those types of things. Because again, it's all, like you said, learning and growing. And I did a webinar not too long ago, and somebody put in the chat, why does everything change after you get married? And I had to laugh because, well, what are you talking about? There's always some of those innuendos that come into play, but because we all change and we're always changing, and who you married or who you fell in love with or who you're dating is not going to be the same person, a year from now, 2 years from now, 50 years from now. So learning to work together and grow together is super important. So yeah, I really like that idea of doing something new together so that you can learn. And there's no weakness in that. I think we have to get past the mindset of, sometimes that is viewed as weakness. Well, I don't know how to do it. That doesn't necessarily mean that you can't do it. Let's figure this out together. And again, balance each other out, help each other out. I think is really important. And I would be remiss if we didn't really talk about children too, because I think that what they see and what they experience is really important. Because if they see parents arguing and not resolving the conflict, they're gonna feel angst and anxiety and and all that kind of stuff. So we have to remember that what we're doing as a couple is affecting those around us, whether we have children or, I mean, it probably affects our animals too. We have to think about that. But also in the workplace, if there's a couple struggling at home, their work is usually failing too. So it affects the whole person. And, we really want to look at how the divorce and the fatherlessness also affects the economy, or the situation of the parent, the individuals. I mean, now you're running two households, and the amount of money that it takes to run two households is very different than running one. And so there's a lot of anxiety that comes into that, and so our mental health is challenged. Then we've got to work more. Our physical health is challenged. So by all of this just really passes down from generation to generation, and we really have to get a grip on it and find out how we can make some changes.
So I'm glad you raised children, the subject of children. So how does being in a relationship with your children differ from being in a relationship with your other loved ones? I mean, I would imagine there's a lot of overlap, but there's also differences too. What are those differences, Rebecca?
Yeah, I think it's really important for you to show your children that your spouse is number one. That's because I think we've ended up in a place where our children have become more of a priority than our spouse. They're involved in every sport, every activity. We give them everything that they need. We're able to do that in many cases, so their needs are taken care of, but we want them to know that they're loved and they're cared for and they're valued, but that they wouldn't be here if it wasn't for these two. And so I think that, you know, even the communication styles that we have, you know, we need to understand what our kids are saying too, or our neighbors are saying, or our coworkers are saying. So, you know, by being able to share our feelings and our why with people, you know, helps them also understand us and helps us understand them. So I think when it comes to that, uh, you know, the communication, like I say, you use this on your kids. I use it on my kids all the time, and they're like, "Mom, you're coaching me again," you know. But it works, you know. So being able to know the love languages, that's another one that we love to talk about as well. What is it that makes us tick? As far as what do we need to feel loved and cared for, you know, those are things that we can use with our children, and those around us too. So if we don't have children, our family of origin, or our neighbors, our coworkers, our community around us, you know. So again, these are all things that are transferable. The marriage relationship, the romantic relationship, those are handled slightly different because of the uniqueness there, and the longevity of what we hope for when it comes to those relationships too. But sorry, I got on my soapbox. Did I answer your
No, that's
question?
great. I wanted you to get on your soapbox.
Yeah.
And with kids too, like that negotiating about what's needed and how to make decisions. Of course, age in an age appropriate way, but it seems like having them part of those discussions and involving them, and also having age appropriate expectations, but also that respect. Because
Mhm.
I don't know if we always think, oh, I need to show respect to my children.
Mhm.
But it seems to me that that's very important too, because it's important for their self-esteem, to know that they have value, and they can also learn how to treat others, because if they're not treated with respect, they're not going to treat others with respect potentially. I mean, what do you think? I'm just throwing out hypotheses now, Rebecca.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. I think one of the things we have to be careful with as adults is, if they really don't have a say in the decision, then don't make them think that they do. And I know I've been guilty of that, you know. But we have to be careful about what we're communicating, and like you said, age appropriate and things like that too. But you know, I value your opinion. You know, I understand you don't want to eat your peas tonight, but you have to, because, you know, you need vegetables in order to survive. You know, that's a simple explanation, but, you know, and the same goes for, you know, yes, you know, I'm going to grab you and pull you back if you're running out in the street. I might hurt you, but it's for your own safety. And it's because I love you and I care for you. You know, the same goes for our romantic partners, right? Our significant others, our husbands, our wives, whatever. You know, sometimes we say things because we're emotional and we care so much, you know, especially if there's a substance use disorder, you know, and that's going on, you know. It really hurts me to see you drinking so much, or to see you using this alcohol. Your personality is changing. It's different for me. And I want what's best for you. So again, we're kind of bridging those divides a little bit. But again, that's, you know, that's what we talk to our children about. I value you, but you are second in my life. And so, you know, it's, we're not going back to the old days where children were seen and not heard, but we do want them to know that they are important, and we're glad that they're there. Yes, they're going to disappoint us. Yes, they're going to bring us joy. There's going to be so many things that happen, you know, but again, we just want to, you know, be able to share that love. And again, you know, that's a very good point, Susanna, that, you know, that they feel valued and loved and cared for, because there's so many that don't. I mean, there's that whole foster care system, and, you know, things like that, homeless children, homeless families, so many things going on that, you know, wish that we could just wave our magic wand and make it all go
That
away.
fairy
But
tale thing again.
exactly.
Well, this has been great, Rebecca, and we just have 1 minute left, so I want to make sure everybody knows how to find you all. So
Yeah. So we have a couple of different websites that kind of go to the same thing. It's VA, like for Virginia, vadad.org. takes you to the Fatherhood Foundation page. If you're looking for some date night opportunities and some relationship skills and coaching and things like that, wecoachcouples.org. So there's lots of different ways to get in touch with us. We have Facebook and Instagram is Get Relational VA. So we'd love to see you on our social media pages, and Fatherhood Foundation on Facebook as well. So lots of different ways to reach us. Would love to hear from you if there's any resources that you need or want. We are here. Just know that we're available for you.
An amazing resource for the Richmond area. And don't forget, a lot of these skills that Rebecca mentioned are available 24/7 on our website at healingedu.org. And that's it for us. Another hour of Finding Our Fit, spent becoming wiser and more resilient and healthier, thanks to Rebecca Blackwell of the Fatherhood Foundation. Thank you, listeners. Thank you, Ron. Good night, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, ladies. We can do this again. All right, here goes on with our loop.